There's a proverb that describes my feelings on education, and that is wise men and women are always learning, always listening for fresh insights. And Tony graduated from high school, and we talked about the importance of continuing education, and so we decided that he would go to community college, local community college, and take some business courses, and that we would, and then he would also work at the bakery. And so he did that for about a year, and he seemed to get pretty frustrated about it. So shortly after that, I joined the RPIA, and I sent an email out to all of the bakery owners and said, you know, if you had a guy who was a good baker and really interested in taking his knowledge and skill to the next level, where would you send them? And 100% of the people that emailed me back said to the AIB School of Baking. I noticed that the school actually was in Manhattan. So I posed a question to him. You know, I said, Tony, what do you think about going to a baking school in Manhattan?
A couple days later, I did some research on my own and found out that the campus was in Manhattan, Kansas at Kansas State University. So I called my dad to make sure that I was mistaken, because there had to be, you know, a campus in Manhattan, New York too. Well, when I called my dad and he started laughing, I knew I was headed for the Little Apple. You know, weekends spent at the Wizard of Oz Museum and maybe, you know, drive through some cow fields.
I think after reading about the school, we realized that AIB was going to be the perfect school for Tony, that he would see baking from a totally different perspective.
When I was at AIB, I took a production management class, and it was really interesting to me. We actually got to, you know, set production for the day. It was one of our labs, so we had to manage for the entire day. And that there, I'll always remember as it was a real confidence builder for me, remembering that I know I can do this.
My wife and I noticed shortly after Tony started the classes that when we'd call him, you know, his excitement that he had when I first hired him, he was 5, I think, when we hired him, his excitement seemed to be coming back, and he was so excited about the bakery and the potential that we had at the bakery, or the potential that was there for him, and we were both really impressed with that.
We would actually make products one day, and the next day we would score them. Like bread, for instance, was really interesting to me. We would we did a salt method, and we did one bread with high salt, one with low salt. We did the delayed salt method. So, and when we would look at them, it was our responsibility to figure out what went wrong. So, it was just really cool seeing the structure of the bread and the consistency of why things happen the way they do. And because at the bakery, when things would go wrong, we would just look at it and say, okay, we'll just fix it the next time. You know, it was just a mistake. So learning in a lab setting really made it more real to me.
I did my best explaining to Tony how to, you know, how important managing is and setting goals for people and yourself and stuff like that. But I think that what he learned there was unbelievable, and he learned a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, well, while I was spending day and night with all of my classmates and talking with them and realizing what their bosses expected from them when they returned to their jobs, I started to realize that it was, you know, time for me to grow up and do my part in the business.
When he came back with a totally different attitude, a whatever it takes attitude, and he exemplified professionalism. That was shocking to us.
I started realizing that in production we needed to start being more unified as a team, because at AIB we would always work. There would always be 4 of us in a group working together in a lab, and I knew that was important, that we all stuck together. So, and then I also, you know, from planning out equipment maintenance to putting the correct ingredients in the products, I mean, it was all just as important. And I remember thinking, this is the first time in my life that learning is beneficial to me.
But he came back from AIB with, you know, whenever products would come over to the retail area, whoever baked them, he would check them out, and if there was a problem with one, he would grab his AIB books and come, you know, go upstairs in the office, grab his AIB books, come back down, trying to figure out what the problem was.
My dad always talks about how our success hinges on continual improvement, and after my experience at AIB, I just realized that continual learning fuels continual improvement.
I believe that AIB was one of the best investments I've ever made in the bakery. Tony had the passion and excitement in him from the time that he was a little boy. In our crazy retail and production environments, it would take years to develop and teach someone the core management and production truths taught at AIB. Losing a key employee for 5 months is without a doubt a big deal. but the return on investment for me was paramount. I sent a baker to AIB, and when I got back was a partner.